Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this special unboxing video on a Monday, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. But as usual, we're going to make it into a bit of a guessing game and see if you can guess it. Right, so what we've got here is something, to be honest, that I am actually really excited to share with you guys, as well as me actually owning it. It's something that I perhaps never thought I'd actually own, but again, huge thank you to viewers, everybody who's just, people like yourselves who are just watching this right now. Things like this have become a reality, because some figures I just think are so hard to get hold of that some figures I've just accepted that I perhaps might never get. And I suppose it was sort of this was sort of one of them things, because I just never seen one in all the years I've been collecting Transformers. I hadn't really seen another. Funnily enough, since I acquired this, I've seen one more. Excuse me, yes, I'm losing my voice. I have seen one more. And the other thing as well is the fact, obviously, because you don't really see it, the prices for them, which when they do appear, are crazy. So this again leads me to thank two people in particular. The first person is Bryce Rutledge, who reached out to me because he knew that obviously I'd be in the market for one of these. And the second is to Lindoan, because he basically enabled me to pay for it in dribs and drabs. And that's exactly what I've had to do, because and indeed sell off a load of figures. So people who are new to the channel, they'll have noticed that a lot of the newer figures, the newer carded figures, they've all pretty much, not all, but there's lots of them dwindling away. And the main reason is exactly that, to finance things like this. So this is a Japanese exclusive figure. It is quite big this time, which you can see. Now I don't want to give it away too much straight away, but yes, it is a Japanese exclusive. The molds with this, I said mold, so I'm giving something else away already, were also used by Hasbro. So it's not a Japanese exclusive like Desirous, which obviously uses its own individual mold. So it's something, it's not Minerva obviously, because she we've already seen her, so it's not something like that. It is something, as I say, that is crazy rare. I don't know, I suppose if you don't really know Transformers, or if you don't really know Japanese continuity, then you might not know. So if I was to say it's released in 1992, which again would confuse a lot of people, because most people sort of think that that's Generation 1 had finished a couple of years before that. But obviously in Europe we got all the Turbo Masters and all that sort of stuff. And in Japan they had, of course, Victory, they had Zone, Operation Combination, and Return of Convoy. Yes, they did. Return of Convoy was 91. And this is from Operation Combination. So that is from 1992, which means that it is one of the last, I suppose, piece of Transformers Generation 1 history to be made. Now, the interesting thing about this particular figure as well is that in Japan they did an abundance of gift sets, which I absolutely love. But for all of them gift sets, they had individual little boxes as well, which again, it makes the collecting for people like me and people who collect variants even more interesting. So obviously if it was Bruticus, we have the individual Bruticus box sets, etc. But with this one, it didn't have the individual boxes. It was just released as a gift set. And so yes, so the molds had already been used, and funnily enough, the molds had already been used by both Hasbro and Takara at the same time. So in 1986, I'm pretty sure it was, that Hasbro and Takara released a figure using these particular molds. But then what Takara did later on, 6 years obviously, they reused the molds. They changed some of the colours incredibly subtly. Now, some of them you can't even tell there's a difference unless you have a look at them on the underside. And I think the funny thing with this is, because they were released so late, a bit like Power of the Force figures with Star Wars, because just trying to keep the brand alive, people didn't really take to them. And again, because they're already figures that they thought they'd seen, or they just thought they might have been reissues. Yeah, they didn't really sell. And you tend to find that when you start collecting figures and collecting anything, that the tail end of anything of the run always ends up being the most expensive. And that's exactly what happened here. So another thing as well is, a lot of these, I've heard horror stories from people where people have thought that they were KOs before, a few years back, just thought they were KOs and left them and not brought them, and now of course they realise what they are. And I suppose you'll see why in a second when you see the box. It looks perhaps a little bit, yeah, because I'm incredibly lucky that it is boxed. It's fully boxed, it's fully complete. And I can't believe it, because I'm sort of looking at it here now. I'm going to start to take some of the bubble wrap off Yeah, there's horror stories of people thinking that it was KO, it wasn't official, it was a Chinese reissue or something like that. And that, yeah, so they just sort of left it. I do think, I don't know if it's this one or not. I think it's the other one, the Collector 75. Graham has got one of the best stories because he got his for next to nothing. But this is the Autobot. This is, you pretty much obviously guessed it, to combine it. It uses similar limbs as what they call the Scramble City ones. So it's not something like Predaking. It's not something like Devastator, because you can swap all the limbs around and you couldn't with them. For those of you who know your box numbers, it's TF04. And you must have guessed it. Okay, then the final clue, if you don't know what it is he was originally released as Defensor, but as a Operation Combination figure, he was released as Guard City. And I was going to say the final clue as well is if people who watch the live stream will already know that I've got this as well, but I wanted to share it properly and officially because I hadn't paid for it fully by then. So I didn't want to tempt fate and risk anything and say, look, So now it's fully paid for, it's fully mine. And I can't believe I even own one, never mind a boxed one. So yes, you can see it's Defensor. You can see, I'm going to use English names, sorry guys. You can see that obviously Hotspot's a different colour. You can see that Blades is a different colour. But the others are all different, as you'll see. Well, a few different from the underside. But what I'm going to do, same as what I've done with Raiden and so forth, I'm going to do an unboxing video and combining of this figure as soon as possible. But yes, so a massive grail ticked off the list. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Bryce. And thank you, everybody here, for watching, because without this channel, they wouldn't have known about me and they wouldn't have contacted me. So huge thank you to everybody. And yeah, let me know if you got it. Please don't write it down in the comments with the actual name of it. Let other people guess. But yeah, thanks very much. Take care.